There is a machine, 1,000,000 miles from Earth, that no human will ever touch again. It is held together by hundreds of moving parts, and every single one of them had to work perfectly. The first time, in the dark, with no one coming to fix it. That is what cost $10 billion. Not the telescope. The promise that it would never fail. So no narration, brand card, COS, TATLAS, THETD, and COSTOF, EVRYTHING. This is the James Webb Space Telescope. The most powerful observatory ever built, designed to see the first light in the universe. Galaxies that switched on after the Big Bang. Its mirror is 6.5 meters across, 18 hexagons of beryllium, each coated in a microscopic layer of real gold, because gold reflects infrared light almost perfectly. And here's the first strange thing. That mirror was too big to fit in any rocket, so it had to fold like origami. Launch folded, and then unfold itself in space. People look at this and assume the gold is the expensive part. It isn't. Not even close. Start with that gold. The entire mirror is coated in roughly the weight of a golf ball's worth of it. At market price, a few $1,000s. You could buy the gold on Webb with a used car. So if the metal is cheap, where did $10 billion go? It went somewhere you can't photograph. It went into a single, unforgiving rule that shaped every decision on this machine. Webb doesn't orbit close to Earth. It sits 1.5 million kilometers away, 4 times farther than the Moon. Hubble, by comparison, orbits low enough that astronauts flew up and repaired it by hand when its mirror came out flawed. No astronaut has ever been where Webb is. No rescue mission exists. Whatever you launch forever. And that one fact is the most expensive idea in modern science. Engineers have a name for the thing that keeps them awake, a single point failure. One mechanism that, if it jams, ends the entire mission. A typical spacecraft has a handful. Webb had 344. 340. 4 chances to lose everything, and not one of them repairable. So you don't just build those parts. You build each one. Then you test it until it cannot fail. Then you test it again. For years. That testing, not the gold, not the glass, is what the money bought. Take the sunshield. To see faint infrared, Webb has to be colder than almost anything in nature. So between the telescope and the sun sit 5 layers of film, each thinner than a human hair, spread out to the size of a tennis court. On the sun side, +80, 5 degrees Celsius. On the other side, in the shade of those 5 sheets, -230, 5. One of the largest temperature gaps ever engineered into a single object. But that tennis court had to fold into a rocket, and then unfold in space through a sequence of mechanisms with dozens of single points of failure of its own. Release pins, hinges. Hundreds of pulleys, kilometers of cable, all firing in order. If one cable snagged, the mission was over. So they rehearsed it on the ground, over and over, because in space it could only happen once. The sunshield and its deployment, an estimated $1.5 billion. The mirror is the same story. 18 segments don't make one telescope on their own. They have to align into a single perfect surface. So behind each one sit motors that can nudge it by the width of a virus, on command, from 1 million miles away. Behind the mirror, the instruments, cameras, and spectrographs, partly built by Europe and Canada, and one called MIRI. That has to be chilled to just 7 degrees above absolute zero, colder than space itself. the optics and the instruments together, around $2.5 to $3 billion of the program. Again, almost none of it the materials. It's the precision. Here is where the money really went. Once it was built, Webb was sealed inside this Chamber A at the Johnson Space Center, the chamber NASA built to test the Apollo spacecraft. They pumped out the air and dropped the temperature to mimic deep space, and they left it there for around 100 days, watching to see whether the whole machine would behave exactly as it would 1,000,000 miles from home. While Webb sat inside that chamber, a hurricane hit Houston. Teams stayed on site through the storm to protect it, because there was only one of these in the world, and no budget on Earth could replace the years already inside it. This is why Webb took so long and cost so much. It was first estimated at around $1 billion to launch around 2010. It launched at the end of 2021, and the final bill was roughly 10 times that first guess. The overrun wasn't waste in the way people imagine. It was the price of removing every one of those 344 ways to fail, discovering problems on the ground, where they could still be fixed, instead of in space, where they couldn't. The testing alone, the verifying, the re-verifying, the years of delay it caused, accounts for an estimated $2.5 billion. Christmas morning, 2021. After 25 years of work, the most expensive scientific instrument ever made was strapped to a rocket and lit. And then the part no test could cover. Over the next month, on its way to that point 1.5 million kilometers out, Webb had to unfold itself, completely alone. The sunshield, the mirror wings, 344 single points of failure, executing one after another, with the nearest human a month's journey away and powerless to help. Every one of them worked. The first time, exactly as the years of testing had promised they would. That flawless unfolding in the dark is the thing $10 billion actually bought. So, what did the James Webb Space Telescope really cost to build? About $10 billion. Designed, built, launched, and proven over a quarter of a century by 14 countries and thousands of people. But remember where that money went. Not into the gold. That was worth a used car. Not really into the metal or the glass at all. $10 billion is about 3/4 of the cost of a single aircraft carrier. For one instrument that folded up inside a rocket and now sees the dawn of the universe. Spread across the 25 years it took, that's a little over $1 million a day. Every day, and most of those days, nobody was building anything. They were testing, proving, removing one more way to fail. That's the hidden cost of the James Webb Space Telescope. You don't pay $10 billion for a mirror. You pay it for a guarantee that a machine you can never touch again will work perfectly. The first time, forever. The gold was cheap. Certainty was the fortune. That's what we do here at Cost Atlas. We find the real price tag, the one that isn't on the part you can see. Next time's a machine designed to do the opposite of Webb, to be found by no one. What does it really cost to build a submarine that can hide from the entire world? This was Cost Atlas, the hidden cost of everything. See you in the next one.